Willem, goedemorgen.
Goedemorgen Fernando, hoe gaat het met jou?
Alles goed?
Ja, top. Very good. Let me see whether I can make my background a bit nicer.
Are you in the office?
Yes, I'm in the office. This is nicer already. Oh, this is perfect.
That's not Netherlands.
This one.
Yeah.
This is Indonesia. Again, I'm over the moon. Rice. This one. Nah. No. No. I don't know which one to use.
No.
I'll just do this one. This is neutral office.
Good. We had yesterday a presentation of Mato Grosso to all the European Union ambassadors in Brasilia.
Oh, okay.
Including your Dutch ambassador.
So, and was he very supportive? I hope so.
Yeah, yes.
Otherwise, I'll kick him.
Oi, Fernando, bom dia.
Oi, Fausto, bom dia, bem-vindo.
Bom dia para todos.
Dia.
Oh, Antonio just arrived at Willem.
Bom dia, Fernando.
Ciao, Antonio.
Ciao.
Marcela, bom dia.
Bom dia, Fernando. Bom dia a todos.
Bom dia.
Good morning, everyone. We'll just wait a few more minutes. There's still people coming in. So please, a few minutes more. Okay, let's get started. Welcome, everyone. This is a webinar of the PCI Corporate Action Group. So it's this group of companies and organizations that are engaging in action in Mato Grosso. We have this special edition of the Corporate Action Group that would like to present the Sourceup platform. We have participated in the creation of the Sourceup mechanism. So the PCI is a part of the Sourceup Global Steering Committee. And we believe that this platform can help us to achieve the goals of PCI and connect companies and investors to the initiatives that we have on the ground here in Mato Grosso. This webinar will be in English. We have a Q&A session at the end of this session. So this is the proposed agenda for today. We have an introduction by me, Fernando Sampaio. I'm the Executive Director of PCI, and we have here Andrea Vernenburg from TFA, the Tropical Forest Alliance. Tropical Forest Alliance is helping us to coordinate the Corporate Action Group. And then we will invite our partners from IDH to talk about the PCI Compacts in Mato Grosso and the Sourceup platform. So I'll pass the word to Andrea to give the welcome from TFA. Andrea.
Thank you, Fernando. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you all today. My name is Andrea. I work as Regional Coordinator for TFA Latin America. And it's such a reinforce the partnership we have with IDH and PCI for a long term. Mato Grosso is the jurisdiction that we have been working for the longest. So for us, it's an honor to coordinate now to host the Corporate Action Group. That is central for our agenda. The engagement of private sector is central for our agenda, as always. And this session reinforces the importance of this session also, that will help us to move the agenda from the speeches, from the commitments, to also accelerate concrete actions. So I wish you all a good webinar, and thank you for being here to join us.
Thank you, Andrea. So just to remind everyone what PCI is about. So the PCI is about creating this ecosystem of action between the state government of Mato Grosso, the private sector, and investments in the jurisdiction. Our idea is that we combining these efforts from the public sector, from the private sector, and bringing investments to the jurisdiction can advance the PCI goals and reduce the risk to all the companies that are operating inside this territory of Mato Grosso. So we can help the state to control deforestation, to implement the forest code and the regulations that we have, to improve technical assistance on the ground, improve good practices and low carbon agriculture. To implement this agenda, PCI is transforming itself in an institution. So we are creating the PCI Institute to be able to implement all those actions, to articulate the public and private sector, to bring investments to the jurisdiction. And this is the action plan that we actually presented in the last Corporate Action Group webinar. IDH is one of the main partners of the PCI strategy in Mato Grosso. It has been here since the launch of PCI in 2015. And IDH is helping us to implement the PCI Institute Action Plan. We believe that Sourceup is a tool that can help us to bring the private sector and connect the private sector to some specific territories inside Mato Grosso. Part of our strategy on the pillar 4, what we call the regionalization of PCI, is actually to engage local actors and municipalities, making the PCI goals happen on hotspots inside Mato Grosso. So the idea is that we can have local organizations, the producers and companies that are interested in specific regions for sourcing inside Mato Grosso can use the platform to help these regions progress towards the PCI goals. So I'll stop my presentation here and I'll pass on to Marcela Paranhos, that is going to explain the concept of the PCI compacts that we are developing together with IDH inside Mato Grosso. Marcela, please.
Thank you, Fernando, for the introduction. I will share some slides with you just to illustrate what I'm explaining, but the idea here is to have a brief explanation and presentation about what is the compacts methodology applied by IDH worldwide and how we are implementing this in Mato Grosso. That is the main contact point with the Sourceup presentation that we'll have later on today. So basically, let me put in the presentation mode. Just a minute, and here we are. The compacts itself is a methodology that seeks to implement local landscape governance models, seeking for production, protection, and inclusion pillars at a local or jurisdictional level. And this is what we call our second layer of interventions under the landscape program of IDH. In Mato Grosso, we are talking about 3 compacts are already implemented and under implementation. The first one in Juruena Valley, the second one is the Sorriso Compact, and the third one in the region of Barra do Garças. Basically, I will not spend much time here, but the main idea of these compacts is to establish this long-term view for each landscape, for each territory, considering all the local actors and giving these local actors the ownership of the process, the ownership of the changes that will be required under these landscapes in the long term, and also to attract investments and market connection to support this implementation. In Mato Grosso, in Brazil, under the landscape approach since 2016, we have implemented already 5 PPI compacts, or PCI compacts as we call in Mato Grosso, and 3 of them in Mato Grosso, as I said, Juruena, Barra do Garças, and Sorriso. Each one of them counts on at least 20, 30 signatories or more that combines private sector, public sector, producers, civil society, all of them pacting around a common view for these landscapes and targets in the medium run to implement this sustainable development in each territory. Here is just a map to give you an idea of distribution. So the compacts in Mato Grosso, as I said, are in Juruena Valley, in Sorriso, and in Barra do Garças. These are the 3 PPI compacts that we are discussing today. And how do we implement these compacts? The first step for a compact is a scoping phase, is to understand this landscape, to map all the main stakeholders, all the real needs of this landscape, and from this, bring all of them to the table to negotiate this common view of what they think and what should be this view of development for the territory. And for this, we built a landscape coalition that we call, and then we will create a governance in the future. Once we have this landscape coalition, we develop the building blocks or the main pathways for development in terms of production, protection, and inclusion in these territories. And then we establish the targets for each one of these pillars and where these players want to be in the future, and finalize the compact with an MOU signed by all these parts. So basically, we sign with all of them a commitment that all parties will invest efforts to implement these targets. This is a non-binding commitment, but brings a strong message for the market and for the territories and local players. Then we go for the post-pact implementation, and this is where we connect with the Sourceup, because the post-compact corresponds to the implementation of the governance models that will be responsible for the implementation of these targets, the monitoring system, so how can we monitor the evolution of each one of these landscapes, and the investment agenda, how can we attract investors, market players, private sector, and more resources to this landscape to make these targets possible. And then is exactly where we have the Sourceup that promotes the market connection and recognition for the sustainability produced commodities. I will not spend much time here because we have our Sourceup colleagues online, and I will pass to them. So we'll stop here, and I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcela. I'll invite Willem Claessens, that is the Director for Markets and Sourceup at IDH, to present more deeply the concept of source. Willem.
Yeah, thank you, Fernando. And I will also share my screen, if you don't mind. So, good morning to you all, and thanks, Fernando, for giving me the floor. This is a really exciting opportunity to explain a little bit more about Sourceup and the things that have been happening with the compacts and Sourceup over the last months and perhaps years, if you haven't had the chance yet to get some information on Sourceup. What I will do is I will run you through a few of the many things that Sourceup is and can do. And obviously I'm open to any questions at the end. After a while, I will give the floor to my colleague, my Sourceup colleague, Antonio Roade, who will show you the actual platform, online platform that we have already built. But let me give you some background first, specifically for the people who have not heard about Sourceup before or are not familiar with the concept. Let me see whether I can do this. Yes. So why is it that we started to build something like Sourceup, and why do we have a landscape approach? It is because some of the challenges that we had in sustainability were simply not solved after all these years of working. And what we saw and what we believe is one of the problems is that companies have no chance of finding all the information that they want in their supply chain online. They have to go to many different platforms or websites to find different ways of information, and also this information is displayed in different forms. So it's really difficult to see what's actually happening. And another thing that we saw and that we wanted to solve was that we saw that a lot of stakeholders were doing something, but nobody was really working together in the beginning. And that obviously means that you can't leverage each other's strengths, and that is too bad. So what we try to do with building Sourceup is to create a platform for relevant, accurate, and reliable data on sustainability that is normally not easy to get. We started out to build the model and the platform, and we didn't do that all by ourselves. We had help of many organizations, and PCI was one of them. And today we are happy that the platform is up and running. It is not fully functional yet, but we are adding features every month in order to make sure that over time it becomes more and more interesting. Let me give you an idea of what it is, and then I start also with the landscape approach. Previously, as we said, we did different projects in different parts of the country and never working together, not leveraging each other's strengths. So today we do that differently. Today we build compacts where people, producers, governments, civil society work together in a landscape or jurisdictional approach in order to achieve more and leveraged sustainability improvement on an ongoing basis. So we came up with this new market solution by using the compact and ensuring that committed buyers are aware of what is happening in this area, this jurisdictional area of the compact. So if you know what's happening somewhere, you can start to help. And certainly if the actions that are undertaken by the compact are in line with what your corporate policy says that you need to do. Support action against deforestation, solve labor issues, make sure land tenure issues get solved, improve livelihoods of farmers. So if you work together, if you know what is happening, it is easier to do all that. So what we are proposing is that we link global company commitments to local sustainable priorities. What is happening locally is very important for the people who live in a certain area, who work in a certain area, and grow commodities in that area. And if they can get support from companies who want to ultimately buy the products from that area, then obviously we are leveraging each other's strengths. I'll give you some key elements of Sourceup, and there are many more, and I love to talk to you about this for the rest of the day, but I know I only have half an hour. But again, reach out to us if you want more information. So let me get back to the value proposition. That is, okay, we want to share information on a neutral platform with reliable data so that everybody knows what's happening. We are creating a system together with the compact of tangible impact, where the landscape approach ensures that credible claims can be made by people who help. And also very important, we want to have this inclusive collaboration. It's not only the buyers and not only the producers, but also local government. Local financiers will want CSOs and also international financing coming into the same place to leverage each other's strengths, to help each other, and to ensure that this path on the way to a more sustainable future is being held. What we always said, and this is where Sourceup comes in over the compact, is if the compact is smart, and the compact is the local people, the local producers, the local CSOs, the local government. If you're smart, put a few targets of sustainability on your list of priorities that are attractive to companies. And we've selected these, pre-selected these already for the compact to easily use. These are a few things that are in line with the SDGs. We've created a few core indicators that if you adhere to, you will be easier to attract companies to your region. So did we choose 50 indicators? No, that's too difficult to do. We chose a few very important ones that are also recognized in the rest of the world as important ones. So we also ensured that there was a monitoring and verification system behind it, and we call it smart verification. So what we will do is we will start with local validation of the compact partners, and as the compact partners are different organizations, different groups of people, we believe that a very robust system can exist that looks at what is happening in sustainability in a certain area. That will be reviewed by a regional panel where there is overview of what happens in a whole region. And ultimately, the verification will happen by a global panel. And these panels are built from CSOs, from government officials, from local people, from the compacts, in order to make sure that everybody understands what is happening in a compact, how progress is being made. And yes, we will use existing data rather than coming up with new data all the time. And I must say, I go through this very, very fast because I'd love to show you the platform, and Antonio will do that later on. So what do we believe why do we believe it brings buyers closer to the field? Because this is a single solution for companies that buy many products. It's not always so that a company only buys soya. No, they also buy maize, they buy other products. Many of the large trading companies buy multiple commodities. So if you have a single solution that you can use throughout landscapes across agricultural commodities, then obviously you are bundling your efforts, and you're making sure that if you save a forest for soya, you also save it for beef, and you save it also the same forest for maize or other products. It is absolutely important for companies that they have clarity on what is happening really on the ground. And yes, some big companies do have people on the ground, but I can tell you the largest part of the companies in the world don't have people outside their own country. So they don't know what's happening in Brazil. They don't know what's happening in Vietnam, in Indonesia, in Nigeria. They only can find out through the internet. And if they have a reliable and consistent metrics on sustainability that is also linked to SDGs, they will have something to hold on to, and they have something that they can support and help. And yes, what is really important is that local government is involved. If the government is not involved, then there will be difficulty with enforcement of certain rules. There will be difficulty with all sorts of stuff. And also a change will not be a real transformation, because only if government supports things, then ultimately real transformation will happen. And yes, we believe also that this is an opportunity for a brand with a purpose to create real impact and show what's happening through the platform. We've written down a few things that companies really, really like. So yes, they can start addressing risks from indirect supply chain through this landscape approach. Through Sourceup, they can show what's happening. They can communicate about it to their shareholders, their investors, their customers, on an easy way. Today, we have to believe a company when they say that they're doing the right thing. With Sourceup, they can show that they're doing the right thing. And yes, it will address human rights issues. It will create greater transparency, which is really necessary if you want to help. I want to give you an example from another part of the world where this is already a system already a bit more advanced. We have created a compact in the Central Highlands of Vietnam. Coffee is being produced there. And we found a company that wanted to go there to help build a better sustainable world for the coffee growers, better market conditions, and reduce the use of agrochemicals and water and lower in this way the carbon footprint. So we found this area that was willing to advance. And we found this company that wanted to help advance in return for buying the product. So what happened is that, yes, suddenly this product that is being built in this specific compact, the product that's being grown, is fully compliant with all the European limits of glyphosate residue, which is something that we didn't start out on to do, but while we were working on it and while everybody was working at it, we did that as well. It had lowered carbon footprint. It also increased income of farmers. And yes, once this was up and running, more and more people, more and more farmers, more and more areas wanted to join in. So this is a snowballing effect. And JDE, the coffee company, the big coffee company that was the first committed buyer in that area, has written this in their sustainability report this year. So yes, they are one of the first signs that companies will come and help compacts that are taking the right steps. So I'm now in a position to give it to Antonio. And Antonio, I will stop sharing if you can start sharing to show you some of the platform in real time.
Thank you very much, Willem. Hi all, bom dia. I'm going to share my screen now. Let me see. Okay. I think you're seeing my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, so as Willem was saying before, what we are going to show you now is what we call the minimum viable product. Of course, we are adding constantly new functionalities, and also the design of the platform will change over time, of course, as we get more brands and more stakeholders collaborating with Sourceup. We will get more feedback and we will be able to improve further the platform. But I think we are in a position that we can give a good example of how you could use Sourceup now, but also you can think about how can this platform help you in the future in your sourcing strategies and to get information from the ground. So for example, we have here already, as you see, the world. Each of the dots that you see are, well, different compacts or multi-stakeholder initiatives working at the landscape level. It's important to say that these are not only IDH-led multi-stakeholder initiatives. So in the future, we will be able to see other initiatives that are run by other organizations, because for us, this is the key, one of the key parts of the platform, right? As you can see, of course, you are going to be able to use a lot of filters to get information on where to source what from where, and how to collaborate with the initiative. So for example, if I want to, I'm interested in Brazil, like in this case, I will go to Brazil, I confirm, and then, well, we have now these different compacts. And maybe I am interested now in, well, in soy, for example. So I will select soy, go to soy, and I see here, okay, we have, oh, sorry, we had the Balsas region, we had Barrio Garzas, and we have Sorriso, that are now the compacts that we have that are producing soy. So I just click in Sorriso because I want to see what's going on there. and I will have a general information. This page is a lot of text. We will be upgrading the design soon. We will be able to see, okay, what are the commodities that are producing in Sourceup and what are the availability to source these commodities. I will be able to see what's the governance, so and what are the partners, because of course you want to know that, as Willem was saying before, that the private sector is involved there, civil society is involved, and in this case you see that we have Carrefour and COFCO in this particular compact. And it's important, of course, to know what is the commitment of that compact. So in this case, on labor, forest and natural ecosystems, land tenure, and livelihoods. I think what is going to be very, very important is that when it comes to the goals and projects, and this is an area that we are now focusing our effort, is to how a brand or a retailer or a trader can collaborate to particular goals. And this, of course, we will include in the platform filters based on which you will be able to search projects that are in line with your sustainability agenda, with your sourcing preferences, because of course maybe you want to source, I don't know, soy that from a particular area within Brazil that is probably not certified, or you don't find available certified soy, but you can still contribute to a goal on that particular compact to claim success and to work towards sustainability goals in that region. So you will be able to collaborate. Well, in this case, we just have to contact the responsible person of the compact. I think one important feature as well is that you will be able to receive compact updates. In this case, we don't have pictures, but this will come. You will be able to receive impact stories directly from the ground. So you will be able to use these impact stories as a way of communicating maybe with external stakeholders, but also with your internal stakeholders. We all of us know that our comms teams, they like this kind of stories coming directly from the ground. And yeah, so as I was saying, this is something that we are constantly working on. Of course, we are exploring functionalities around carbon, scope 3 particularly. We are exploring functionalities about due diligence and all this, well, the conversation that is currently happening around human rights due diligence, and how can this be useful to you in your due diligence efforts at the landscape level, and many more functionalities that hopefully we will be able to show you in the coming months. The platform will be released somewhere this year, because with the COVID, the future is a little bit uncertain right now. But this year we will officially launch the platform, and we are looking forward to communicating to you that. And Willem, I will pass over to you. I think there is one slide. I want to say that we are also launching the external policy consultation. This is, of course, what you just saw is the platform and is what is publicly visible, but the backbone that tells you who can report through the platform, what kind of data, how the data needs to be, all of these kind of details are in the policy external consultation that we will send you now the link, so you can have a look in case you are interested to collaborate on that consultation. So Willem, can you share your screen again, the presentation? Because of course one of the main functionalities we will explore with Sourceup is the aggregation feature, right? So we are working on developing these dashboards that you as a company, for example, will be able to have reports like, okay, how many projects I am collaborating in Brazil on this particular sustainability topic, how much funding I am providing in total in Brazil, or maybe in a region in Mato Grosso. So you will have all these kind of reports that will be able to communicate what are you doing, because we know that companies, like a lot of companies, are doing a lot of things, but Sourceup will bring all these things together, and you will be able to more easily communicate your impact and your effort to, well, or internal stakeholders or external stakeholders. We will put now the link of the Sourceup policy, and I'm more than happy to take any other questions. Thank you, Willem. Over to you.
Yeah, thanks very much, Antonio, for this insight into what the platform is today. This private dashboard that you see now is something that we will feature in the very near future. And that is where companies indeed can start using the data that will be generated over time on the platform to start reporting to investors, to consumers, to shareholders, and also that will be independently then verifiable on the platform by all these parties. So that is an exciting new future that we are building. Obviously, I wanted to also mention that there are already several companies. We have 19 compacts now featured on the platform, and there are already a handful of companies attached to this platform, and each compact has already a few companies involved, and they are in different stages of making investments into these compacts. And that is actually what it's all about, because with these investments we can start the transformation of the sustainability of the landscape, and that is something that we really want to see happening. As I gave you the example of JDE, there are more coming pretty soon. So if you're already sourcing from a compact, and many of the companies here today are already doing that, then activate your access to Sourceup. Don't hesitate, just go online to sourceup.org and start using the platform. If you come across issues, then don't worry, we will help you. There may be, because this is still the beta version, there may be some things that are still not 100% correct, but yes, we will do every effort to make them correct, and while we add new features. So what you will get if you activate your access, obviously you will get access to the platform, but you will also have the option to become a committed buyer by supporting a compact of your choosing, and you can choose which compact, and the compact goals will probably align with some of or all of the commitments that the companies have made into the markets. And you can also then have access to the enhanced features of Sourceup that we are still building, like there are the dashboard and other things. So I do invite you to all join Sourceup and activate your account. That would be really great. Then Fernando, I've come to the end of the Sourceup presentation. As you know very well, because you have been involved in the development of this all, we can speak about this for another day, but I would like to open the floor, if you don't mind, for a few questions, so that people who have a burning question can put it forward. And yes, as I said before, we're always willing to answer questions also offline.
Thank you, Willem. Yes, well, thank you and Antonio for the presentation. I would like to, before we go to the questions, I see some of the questions already on the chat. I would like to invite Daniela Mariuso to talk a little bit about the connection of what we are doing in Mato Grosso and with PCI and the compacts and the link to Sourceup, if she can help us to wrap up and understand better the connections between the landscape strategy of IDH Mato Grosso and the Sourceup. Daniela?
Thank you, Fernando, and thank you, everyone. I wish you all good morning and good afternoon. I see there are several colleagues also from the European private sector there, so I'm very happy to see all you here. I'll be very briefly. I think it was great, the presentation also. I'm close to our colleagues in Sourceup, but there are really new information, so I'm also happy to see all this happening. It's important to tell you all that we are developing the compacts, the concept, and also the implementation in the fields for 4 years now. So just after we started the PCI at the state level, then in May 2017, we started the compacts implementation, and this was something really new and never created before. So I think it's important also to tell to you that this is very innovative, and we are counting on all of you to help us to keep this development for the coming years also. One important thing is that what is Sourceup today, during the last years, it was the verified sourcing area. So for some of you that we don't talk for a while, that we were introducing the verified sourcing area, I think it's important that you now get the whole picture that this developed to Sourceup platform. And so this is where we are with this. And it's one important thing that the compacts themselves, the Sourceup was able to create a manual for implementation of the compacts. And so this is very important because as William already said, and Antonio, IDH was implementing the model, but we are not the only implementation of compacts. And this is also important for you guys to understand that everyone is welcome to start compacts implementation in other regions. And there is a guideline that was created also based on the field work around the world doing that. And finally, what I also want to compliment my colleagues from Sourceup team is that nowadays making simple things is very difficult. And I see you guys during the last 4 years also developing all this and made it very simple. So I think it's a big accomplishment, and my big compliment to you, Willem, leading this, and the whole team, and also to get where we are, making it simple is a lot of work. So thank you, everyone.
Thank
you, Daniela. And you know, as answering already one of the questions that is on the chat from Katie Anderson, and making a link to what we are doing at the PCI Institute, the idea that today we have started these 3 compacts inside Mato Grosso with the support of IDH, but we are already identifying other regions where we believe compacts can help to accelerate the implementation of the PCI goals. So we are identifying inside of Mato Grosso which are the places that we could start compacts, that we already have some action happening from investments, from companies working on the ground, from local actors. So we intend to expand this strategy of local implementation of the PCI. And we believe that the Sourceup is a platform that can be used in these other regions. Even if IDH is not involved, we are going to use Sourceup as a way to connect committed buyers to these producing regions. So Katie, thanks for the question. And Willem, there's another question here about the deforestation, and if you can address that.
I will do that, Fernando, but let me also add to Katie's question is, yes, we are also already building, not only with the PCI organization, but also with TNC, WWF, GIZ, LTKL, and also even with JDE, the coffee company, of which I showed the example. We're building already new compacts that are don't have any IDH involvement. With the guidelines that we put up, and these guidelines are necessary to ensure that everything that goes on the platform looks similar, so it can be easily used by companies. We invite everyone to use Sourceup as a means to get the buyers in that start to be committed and invest in areas. And yes, then the question about deforestation is that shouldn't eliminate illegal deforestation a basic default layer? Yes, it is so. Everybody is committed to that, and yes, it is up to every compact to put that into their priorities. Absolutely, and several have already, and we would advise them to do that. Illegal deforestation obviously is something that everybody wants to avoid. So I believe that any compact would seriously think about illegal deforestation, putting it in and ensuring that companies, but also governments are starting to help with ensuring that this is being banned. And then I see an additional question from Anton. Well, zero deforestation is a bit more difficult, and the reason for that is that in some parts of the world, and Sourceup is a global online platform that helps compacts around the world. In some parts of the world, it is legal to deforest. Yes, will we encourage people not to deforest even if it's legal? Yes, and I think that the compact is specifically built to help generate that idea and also help establish a way of working beyond illegal deforestation, so that ultimately zero deforestation may be an option. Thanks.
Just to complement your answer, Willem, inside Mato Grosso, we already have a lot of action from the government to achieve zero illegal deforestation. So the government has, and we issued a note explaining all the policies that Mato Grosso is implementing to address the question of illegal deforestation. And we believe that we have to combine the efforts from the government tackling illegal deforestation with incentives to tackle the legal deforestation. So we have already in Mato Grosso examples, for example, the Conserve initiative, where we address legal deforestation. So we already have pilots of payments for farmers that have the right to clear forests and are not doing that because they are getting the incentive. So this is the kind of mechanism that we can try to attract to the compact areas to make sure that we can address both illegal and legal deforestation.
And I see that we have compacts on the platform also from Indonesia, where they are trying to address that same issue and do that in a similar way. And I am in favor of that.
So, Willem, I have just another question that I think we should stress to all the participants. So we have the platform, it's up and running. If you go to the Sourceup website, you can get into the platform and already have the information on the compacts. But from what we understood from Antonio, there's still a consultation going on about how the people that can get their information inside the platform. Is that right?
Well, the Sourceup platform is a living mechanism, basically. So we're improving on it all the time. What we have now is a basic version, and we have now asked all sorts of organizations, also the people from our steering committee, the organization that I showed in the beginning, but also others to give comments to help us develop the next phase. And if any one of you here is reading the document and says, oh, this should be, or we could do, then yes, please let us know, because that is the information that we will need to make the Sourceup platform even better. It is an umbrella platform that has contains a lot of information, and we would love to make it as usable for everyone. That's on the one hand the companies, but on the other hand also the compacts, to show what is happening and how they are doing on sustainability. If everybody makes it as useful as possible, then we really have a collaborative platform.
So just to add to that, Fernando, it is important what Willem was saying before when he showed the indicators. What he showed is like a long list of the core indicators. What we are doing now is collecting data across different regions. So in Indonesia, in Vietnam, in Brazil, of course, and based on these pilots that we are doing of collecting data by using mostly secondary sources, because of course this needs to be sustainable also in an economic way, right? We cannot rely completely about primary data collection. So what we are doing based on that information, we will define the short list of core indicators, will be 4 or 5 maximum core indicators that will be very relevant to all NGOs and brands and retailers, traders, salary, so livelihoods, wages, land tenure, and also land conversion. And of course, in Vietnam, as also Willem was saying, for them, the pesticide glyphosate was very important. So then they decided to develop this local indicator about the use of of these pesticides. That will be important, that all compacts will be able to define their local priorities. And compacts, taking into account that it's not just the local stakeholders, but also the brands will be able to influence that agenda by, okay, for us, this is a priority, and we want to measure that. So that's important as well.
Thank you, Antonio. Any other questions?
Well, Fernando, if I see the colleagues are not maybe not asking now, so maybe I can complete something. Is this okay? This is Daniela.
Sure, yeah, go on.
I think it's also for the ones in the core interest in solutions in Mato Piba region, specifically on Cerrado in Mato Piba region, regarding soy production and cotton and inclusion of smallholders and local communities, that we created a compact in Balsas and region where there are 11 municipalities together committed to a long-term vision. So we are presenting here this under the PCI group, the Action Group for Corporates, but also I think it's important to give you the vision on Mato Piba region, because there are other issues regarding the soy specifically, and the final buyers of soy and consumers, etc. in Europe, we know they're looking for solutions on Mato Piba. And so we created that, and we are now in the post-compact agenda, where we are establishing all the monitoring and the local committee, etc. And so anyone that want to know more specifically about that compact, please get in contact. And there are also other 3 compacts in Colombia, where we are working with the 3 departments, 3 states, basically on oil palm and cocoa and coffee as anchor commodities. So I'm also sharing this with you because some of you are also buying several commodities. So we are also available to inform that we are open and would like to talk to you about the other compacts in Latin America also. Thanks, Fernando.
Thank you, Daniela. Yes, we understand that Sourceup was developed to connect companies, buyers to these producing regions, and you are going to implement in all the regions. IDH is working, but it's open for any other region to use Sourceup and connect what they are doing with committed buyers. There's a question here, Willem, from Carolina, about the investment side. If companies want to not only to connect on the sourcing side, but on the investment side, if they want to invest in that region, will Sourceup be able to present the possibilities for investments on those places?
Absolutely, absolutely. It will be necessary to also to show what the investment opportunities are, because the transformation needs to be kickstarted by investments, and whether these come through sourcing or through investment, that doesn't matter to us, and we will actively lobby for investments into certain projects. If somebody is really interested and says, okay, I have this commitment towards my consumers or towards my customers, and I want to achieve my commitment, then I can start investing into a project in one of the areas where you source from to help advance that goal of the compact, so that you, by helping the compact, you're helping yourself achieving your commitments into the market. And that obviously is the ultimate form of working together. You're not only doing it for yourself, but you're also doing it for other people. By helping others, you're helping yourself, and that makes everybody happy ultimately.
Thank you, Willem. Well, I believe that that's the idea. I mean, we presented to you in the past pitch book from Mato Grosso with different projects that were going on here in the landscape in Mato Grosso. And actually, we are going to use just the Sourceup actually to pitch all the opportunities that you have on these producing regions, actors that are already on the ground implementing the PCI targets, working on restoration of degraded areas, working on implementation of good practices. And the idea is that committed buyers can connect those initiatives. And if they are investing on these projects, we are not talking anymore about isolated projects, but knowing that the ensemble of all these projects contributes to raise the level of this producing region and making it more sustainable. So, like I said before, we have today 3 compacts that were developed together with IDH in Mato Grosso. Our idea is in PCI is that we are already mapping other regions where we believe compacts can make a difference and can accelerate the implementation of the PCI goals. And we are going to work with these regions to develop new compacts inside Mato Grosso and use Sourceup for companies that can support us on this. So we are coming to an end of our webinar. Sorry I didn't say this in the beginning, but we are recording this for documentation purposes, so this will be available later. We are also launching a new website for the PCI Institute, so you have a lot of new information that's available there. I'm putting the link of this website here on the chat. Sorry, I just sent it to Leven only. But we thank everyone that came here today. We thank TFA and IDH for the cooperation on this corporate action group. And we hope to see you in the next webinar. So thank you very much. Thank you, Willem, Andrea, Antonio, Daniela, and Marcela for the presentations.
Yeah, thank you, Fernando, for having us.
Thank you, Fernando. Thank you very much.
Thank
No
you. Good day,
pictures.
everyone.
Okay, bye. Have a nice rest of week.
Yeah, thank you.
Esqueci da fotinho, Karina. A Rita vai ficar brava.
Eu tirei os prints aqui, mas não ficou todo mundo, não.
Tá bom. Obrigado, gente. Andréia. Tchau, obrigado.
Tchau, Fernando. Obrigada. Até a próxima.